You know, on this episode of Ice Team Podcast, I got 3 awesome guests on it. I got to know these guys pretty well over the last couple of years. I've known Andy for over a decade.
Yeah, easily.
And we're going to probably tell that story. But I got Andy and Mao, KnockOutdoors, here with us. If you follow along on social media at all in the world of fishing, you are going to bump into one of these 3 gentlemen, whether it's ice fishing, whether it's summer fishing, whether it's cooking, whether it's DJing, whatever it might be. We got some stories to tell. So welcome, guys. I'm very honored to have you on the show, and I'm excited to pick the brains of these 3 studs. So
thank you.
What do you think?
Good to be here.
KnockOutdoors, though.
Great.
So that's the question I always get right away. Like when I mention KnockOutdoors, at first people try to understand the brand and who you were. I think that's clear now, right? But how'd you come up with that name? I think the listeners and viewers got to understand, like, KnockOutdoors. How did that come out? I know there's a story behind it.
Yeah. So the name basically came from Danny works 3rd shift. So we're in a group chat, and, you know, picking the name takes some time. And then all of a sudden, we've been throwing names out for probably weeks trying to figure out a name. And then Danny one day just goes, "Hey, I'm going to go KO." And everyone knows what KO means,
Yep.
right? Knockout. Like, all right, let's go do a little word sandwich, as Mao put it, and call it KnockOutdoors. And then here we are. That's kind of how the name was built. And I think the reason why we picked that name, you know, you guys can elaborate a little bit differently or not, but just, you know, breaking down barriers, getting into the outdoors, right? We're all in it to do the same thing, go out, have fun, enjoy what Mother Nature gave us, whether it's hunting, fishing, shooting guns, and, you know, cooking, whatever it is, right? Camping, hiking.
And running until you drop. So
Yeah,
knock out,
exactly.
you know?
Go full steam. So yeah, that's how we got the name.
Yeah, and Danny, it's funny you mentioned 3rd shift. Like, I think Danny works all shifts. I mean, we've gone ice fishing together as a team many times, and we'll say, "Hey, what time do you want to meet?" Well, we got to get out there when the sun comes up, right? And we're out there at dark 30, and then Danny's like, "Well, I'll meet you there. You know, I got to work till 6 a.m." I'm like, "Well, we're meeting at 6:30. Well, I might be there at 6:45. I admire how you can literally go on no sleep for 2 days in a row.
You just did that.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys went fishing this morning.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, I was actually planning to sleep in a little bit because I usually wake up at 4 a.m. for work. But Danny, you know, I'm up at 6 and getting ready. Danny calls me while I'm in the bathroom. He's like, "Dude, hurry up. Let's go fishing." I'm like, "We got an interview in a little bit, you know?"
Did you sleep last night?
A little bit because, you know, if I go to sleep in the morning, I'm not going to get up. So I was like, since we're doing something, I might as well just cut in between, not sleep at all, and just let's go fishing.
So if we have anything important to do,
yeah.
I usually set an alarm 1 hour before we have to be somewhere, and I'll call him 10 times in a row until he picks up.
Yeah.
Just so that he's not late, because that's important, right?
They're also
Because I know he's sleeping. I know he's snoozing.
I don't know how you do it, man. It's crazy. And the craziest thing, to be honest, like, I've been with you on those days when you don't have any sleep, and I can't tell. Like, maybe you guys can, but, like, he's still going hard. He's the one cutting as many holes as anyone else. He's the one that's doing this and doing that. It's not like, you know, you're draining and he's taking a nap. No, he's like Magic Man, running all over the place, cutting holes, and we've seen it and done it. So that's pretty awesome. I admire that. But no, you're going to someday have kids, I'm sure. And it's going to change the perspective on all that. I mean, we got Grandpa Mao over here, you know. So, you know,
Very
Andy's
soon.
got young kids.
Oh, yeah.
My youngest is now she's 7, but it'll change. You know, sleep becomes very important.
We'll see because my grandpa and them, they're kind of crazy too when it comes down to it. So we'll see.
So a little bit of genetics there on all that
Yeah,
stuff.
could be.
So this is awesome. A little backstory on these 3 guys and how they came to fruition with Clam and Ice Team and all this stuff is obviously a passion for the sport, right? But just the driving idea behind fishing. You know, when we first came there was a 4th member of the team who is, I don't know, he's somewhere, shape or form still part of the team, but not as much as he was.
Yeah.
But the idea was to bring a group of marketers that can come on board and just kind of reach the masses. And we've seen strength on this side of the fence when these little groups form versus like one person, right?
Right.
So when Andy and I don't know if we want to tell the story about how it all came back, or maybe you want to go back 12 years
Yeah, I can do
and
that.
tell the story about how we met.
Well, before I even do that, reeling back, I guess I would be the second generation, right? Because my grandpa immigrated here in the 80s, early 80s. So he started fishing, and then he took me under his wings, and then I started fishing. But I've never ice fished or even thought about ice fishing in my entire life until I met my wife, and then they're into the ice fishing scene. Took me on a clam. I remember it all being blue. Fishing using a Vexlar, and that's what I'm pretty sure hooked me. It felt like a video game.
Yeah.
Seriously, it was a video game to me. I'm
It
like,
still
wow.
hooks us.
Yeah, you see that, and immediately your heart rate starts rising, and you need to know what it is, right? So that's what got me hooked. So like just a few years into it, I geared myself out, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I go out there and I get skunked. I drill holes, whatever. So I'm like, all right, there's got to be someone local and close that could help me out, help me understand this sport. So then I said, all right, it's like an investment. I'll reach out to Matt and I'll say, hey, Matt, can you take me out? I don't know what I'm doing. And that's kind of how it all started. That's kind of the little backstory on how I got in connection with Matt.
I remember the day well.
You do?
We were on Chisago.
Yes.
We were fishing by the A-frame.
100%.
Chasing crappies and bluegills. It was an awkwardly nice day.
Yeah.
I remember we were like in hooded sweatshirts, hole hopping.
But it was cold, but it was calm.
Right, and we were catching them. And I tell the story of Andy a lot of times to clients I have now. I mean, this was 12 years ago. Jack, my kid was like 1.
Yeah, easily 12 years.
Maybe even longer. I mean, he was maybe a baby.
I'd have to go check my inbox.
And it was a blast. We went out there and we were chasing crappies and bluegills, and Andy was crushing them. And I remember we started playing with plastics.
Yes.
So right now in ice fishing, as the three of you know, and probably our listeners do as well, plastics are not a new concept, right? Yeah. Most ice anglers understand plastics. They may not all use them, but they know they exist. Oodles of brands have them. But rewind to that day, that was not the case, right? Like there was a couple brands 12 or so years ago that really marketed ice fishing plastics. A lot of us were cutting up our power baits in the garage, but there was a couple brands back then that actually made plastics. Yep. And I remember I was fishing plastics pretty religiously at the time. And Andy needed bait.
Yep.
You ran out of maggots. You need, hey, I need more bait. I'm like, oh, try on a plastic. And you were kind of like,
I've never done that.
I'm going to do this. And then Andy was just kicking my butt fishing with plastics. And I think it opened Andy's eyes to artificial baits, right? And as anglers, like Andy alluded to, he was a student of the game. You're still a student of the game.
Oh, yeah, every
One
day.
of the most intuitive students I know of this game of ice fishing.
Every day.
And it was kind of fun. I always tell that story, and that's been my progression from the live bait to plastics for anyone I work with is, for sure, fish your live bait. If that's your confidence thing, do it. But if you're with me on a guide trip, you're quickly going to be fishing plastics, because when you ask me for that bait, puck, and maggots, I may instead hand you a Mackie and say, just throw this on. Yeah. It's all confidence, right?
Yeah, it is.
But I remember that day well. We tip-up fished. We caught a bunch of big bass.
Oh, yeah, big buck and mouse.
Oh, I mean, there's trips in my life that always come to mind, and for sure that's one. But maybe talk about, like, then it came back full circle, and we started connecting again just a few years ago, and it was a blessing. I'll tell you what. Things happen for a reason.
Yeah. I mean, I can go. You want me to go down that rabbit hole? I can.
Sure.
The reason why I reached out to Matt, like just going back into the Rolodex, the thing that I noticed from a pro staff level was a lack of the word diversity. Yep. So I'm like, hey, Matt, what's cooking in this industry that doesn't have that? And to me, that's the root reason why I was like, hey, Matt, what's going on? He's like, hey, Andy, I've been working on this for, I think you said 9 years.
Yep.
9 years. And I'm like, wow, that's almost a decade long, right?
Yep.
It's like, okay, let me see if I can help you out. So I gathered some assets, Danny and Mao, and we created the team KnockOutdoors.
Yeah.
That's the root.
It was funny because when Andy sent an email to me, and for one, it was awesome because I got to reconnect with a buddy. I think a lot of it became fishing conversation before any kind of business, right?
Yeah.
Just reminiscing on things, how you been, how your kids, this and that. But what Andy's leaving out is I voluntold him to lead the team.
Yeah.
Because you were kind of like, I'm just this perspective, like friend looking out for friend. And I'm like, well, you're the guy. And you're like, whoa. Hold on. That wasn't my intent with this. I was just kind of talking about this. So I kind of inadvertently told Andy, well, you're going to captain this team. You know, you're going to put this together. And man, we talked a lot for a couple weeks. It was pretty consistently on email, on phone. We went and had lunch together, reconnected.
Yep.
And it birthed this awesome team here. And like I said, things happen for a reason, for sure. And it brought us together there. So I'm pretty proud of that, for sure. And maybe talk a little bit, and Danny and Mao, about some of your background. I think Danny, not just in the fishing world, but your big claim to fame is DJ Danny Vu.
Yes, I DJ for a long time. I want to say like pushing 20 years.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, 20 years. Not exactly 20 years, but it's close enough. But overall, the DJ industry, the nightlife, just entertaining a lot of people. It's just doing different entertaining every night, music differently. Every song playlist is always different. Even with my style of fishing and hunting as well in the outdoors, it's always different. Try to be different. As you learn and progress with a lot of things, it's like the way I fish and hunt is almost like DJing the way I play my playlist.
Sure.
To the crowd, to make motivation, to hype everything up as much as I can. And the people, they love it. They encourage it. They always coming back, and makes me want to continue on to do what I do best, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, people may not tell you, but people showing up, so it means a lot to me. Because, you know, people have their own different world and different life as well, too. But it's great to see, you know, old and new people and new faces around different states as well. So I get to see all that. So different personality, and different families and different groups that you can learn.
Sure.
How did you get into fishing? Who got you into fishing?
It started my grandpa, my dad. I mean, it runs into my family, technically. I mean, like I said, back in the Hmong culture didn't come to the United States back in 1975. You know, and if you learn about the Hmong people, all we was is about farming, hunting, and fishing. We really wasn't having anything out there. We don't even have a country, technically.
Yeah.
You know, so we were kind of like the mountains, the hill people, the Hmong people, and different tribes. And Hmong people only got 18 last name.
Yeah.
You know, and that's
I
pretty
just
much
learned
what
that.
it is.
Talking to you guys.
18 last name and 2 different dialect vowels. You know, we got the green Hmong people and then we got the white Hmong people. So different accent talk. And, you know, for my fishing and hunting, it all came from my grandpa, my dad, and my uncles. And then, like, I'll probably say, I'm the 3rd generation.
But first generation DJ.
First generation DJ, and probably, you know, born and raised in America too, and born and raised in Minnesota. Yeah, I love Minnesota. I've been to a lot of states, I travel a lot. I always still come back to Minnesota.
Yeah,
the 4th season, the outdoor life is just a little bit different.
And if you follow Danny on social media, if you look at how he posts, the words you use, the mannerisms and use, the exclamation points, that is Danny Vu in real life, right? Like, I love reading your posts because, like, you're always so, like, eccentric, so happy, so excited. And, like, the times we fish together, like, that's you. Yeah. Like, you're always like, I know when you have a fish on. Right, we all know because he's over there.
The whole lake knows.
Yeah, he's excited, or he's telling jokes, or he's saying this or doing that, and like, yeah. So you're spot on. Like, I can see how you've tied in. You made a comment about I fish like I DJ, and I could see it. I can probably feel it. You know, like when you're fishing and all that sort of stuff. You're very, very positive all the time, and it's fun. But and again, it reverts back to like, how are you doing that? Going on no sleep. It's like, it's pretty amazing. So no, we've talked a bunch, and you know, Danny, I know, like, we've even had days where you're like, yeah, I caught some white bass, or I caught some crappies, or whatever you're targeting, and I'm thinking like, oh, were you up on Pokegama or something? And you're like, oh no, I just took a quick day trip, 2 hours and 47 minutes south. I just had to hit this spot. I'm like, what? Oh yeah, I just heard about this bite, so I just book down there. You book down there 2 hours and 47 minutes.
One day.
Yeah.
It's a one day.
It's oh man, it's
He goes on adventures.
you do. You go on a lot of adventures. But I'll tell you what, you know, there's a young kid on our pro staff that joined through Blackfish, and he's part of Ice Team. His name's Donovan Yang. I think you guys know who Donovan is, a young kid. And a new gal named Violet.
Yep.
And I just met Violet this weekend at the North Metro Ice Show. And right away, their reference to everything we're doing is through the three of you. Like, I'm not kidding. So, like, immediately they're like, oh, yeah, we follow the KnockOutdoors and, you know, Danny, this and that. And we were talking about catfish. And they're like, yeah, I saw them post a video of this and that. So, like, without getting too sappy, like, you're probably touching way more people than you realize already. You really are.
Yeah,
and it's not just guys and gals our age, right? It's these young kids that are coming on and they're seeing what you're doing in the fishing world, whether it's on the professional side. I mean, you guys have picked up some incredible partnerships, right? It's not just with us. I mean, Shields. I mean, I can go on the list of Vexlar, a number of brands that you guys are doing work with and helping out. And I think it's awesome because, you know, I've learned that some of these young kids are now finding places they feel like they can fit, right?
Yep.
So that was pretty awesome this week. And like right away, they're like, oh, you know Danny Vu? I'm like, maybe. And they're like, oh, he's awesome, man. We follow him, this and that. So like, you know, good job, Danny. I know, you know, going on no sleep's not always easy. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but like, we can feel the passion. We can feel it.
The energy is there.
Evident. And then you look at Mao over here. I mean, big bass king. I mean, I'm going to let him tell his story too, but I have a real quick funny story about Mao. Coon Lake.
Oh yeah.
A fog that you can't see 10 yards apart. Literally, it was horrible. I had my two of my kids were fishing for bass out there last year.
Yeah.
And I'm fishing, and I can see this boat, like on a trolling motor, getting very close. I'm talking like
uncomfortable.
Oh, like flipping in my boat. And I remember my Jack was like, "Dad, that boat's really close." I'm like, you know, it's foggy. And a normal day, I could have like been like, "Hey, it's Mao."
Yeah.
But we literally couldn't see 10 yards away.
No.
And all of a sudden, I hear someone go like, "Mr. Johnson, you're on my lake." I look over, and there's Mao flipping for bass. And I always laugh at that. So every time we go to Coon, me and my kids, it's close to our house. We go there to goof off for an afternoon. My kids actually reference, "Can we go to Mao's stretch?"
Oh.
And it's that run of docks, run of docks where you came up. Can we go to Mao's stretch? And we
awesome.
always catch them there. But no one knows what we're talking about on the lake.
Yeah.
But it's a good spot.
Oh yeah.
So Mao, how did you get involved in fishing?
Well, you know, I tell the story sometimes, but I've never really told it publicly. When I grew up, okay, everyone kind of knows Trevor Lowe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Trevor's grandma used to babysit me.
Wow.
So he doesn't even know this, but I know all his dad, his uncles, they know me.
And his fishing spots?
No, not quite. So we grew up in the projects on the west side, and my mom they're kind of across the playground from us. So my mom would take me over there, and I'd, you know, be babysat by his grandma for the day, you know. And then when they moved out, we had this huge tackle box that they gave us with these rods, you know. And it was one of the old ones that opened up, and there's like 3 tiers.
Oh, yeah.
And so it was pretty big.
Old school
it was
tackle
a good
box.
size one.
Classics.
Yeah. Classic.
And, you know, my dad didn't know nothing, so he took us to the infamous Phelan Lake, you know. So around Phelan, the little channels there that go under the bridge to Keller, to Round Lake, actually, it used to be, this was before milfoil, so it was all like coontails, you know.
Sure.
Phelan was super clear, coontails. And they used to have a dock there that they turned sideways, you know, right on that little channel, the 2 channels. And we had all this gear. We didn't know how to use it, you know, and there was this older guy. He's on the other side. There's a lot of people. He kept catching all these crappies, you know. He was just pulling them in. So my brother, third oldest for me, ran over the other side and peeked at his bait, you know. And he ran back. He ran back to the huge tackle box. It was a little jig fly, you know. It was like kind of bright orange and black. And he goes, "Oh, I know what he's using. You know. And he came back and he grabbed the only one there was, you know, because it was the last one. He tied it on and he threw it out there. and he got a bite, but he didn't know how to set the hook. So he, so he just reeled this in. This is like in the 80s, right? Late 80s. So he just reeled it in and it got away. And then that was like my first experience seeing somebody like my brother hook a fish. And I was just like, from there, it went kind of to bass and pikes. And
everything.
Yeah, I kind of really fallen in love with largemouth bass fishing, you know, and
they're your children, right?
they are.
He has some name. I'm convinced.
You should see my license plate, right? So that's how I got into fishing, and you know, and it's incredible these days that I think about what's available for these kids, like Donovan and them, and it's so much knowledge on YouTube. It has changed the game. You know, when I was in middle school, I'm in like 6th grade. I go to the library to look for fishing books because, you know, I was either that or you're subscribed to In Fisherman or Bassmasters magazine, right?
Yep.
And I would get Bassmasters every so often, but, you know, my parents aren't going to let me get a year's subscription to that.
Right.
So I went to the library and I looked up fishing, and there's this little green book. It was like this big, you know. And there was no there's just hand-drawn animations, pictures, illustrations. And I'd read it and it'd tell you about cover and structure and knots and Texas rigs and Carolina rigs, you know. And it was crazy. At that time, the Hmong people were fishing with bobbers, right? So I got this. We went to the Keller River over there, kind of, you know, between Round Lake and Keller there, where everyone plays the kind of, they do the little top spin game now there. You used to play volleyball there. And I threw a Texas rig out with, like, when the Berkeley worms first came out, they had the green ones, you know. I was pulling it, dragging it. I was like, I didn't even have confidence that this was going to work, right? Because I was like, how is fish going to see a green lure in a green place, right? And I caught this bass, and my cousin was like, "Wow, that's cool!" And everybody was watching me. It was like,
that was when you got hooked.
Yeah, that's
literally and metaphorically.
Oh yeah, got hooked on the green ones. So
I love those stories, and we would go and fish. I suppose this would be a little bit west of there. We would fish like Sucker Creek near Vadnais.
Yeah,
my dad and my brother and I, we had similar stories where, you know, it to your point, it always seemed like it was somebody else catching the fish.
Yeah.
But still, we had those stories and those memories. And you know, I joke sometimes with my kids, too, like you alluded to, they have it good. We were fortunate to catch fish when we were kids, right? Yeah. You didn't just go out there. Now we go fishing, right? Yeah. And we've done it, the four of us, many times. If we're not catching fish immediately on the first spot, we're wondering what's wrong, and we got to move, right? I remember when I was a kid, that was just kind of the norm. Yeah. Like, you didn't catch fish most of the time.
You just sat there.
And you went with people you liked to be with, whether it was your brother, whether it was dad, or grandpa, friends, neighbors, whatever. I remember those days vividly. And now we go ice fishing, and I remember Mao comes out, and Mao's like our, I don't know, like our control commander, because he's got his sled with the live scope and all this stuff, and he's so attention to detail. And it's like, here comes the command station. You know, and then there's Danny and Andy on hole number 94. You know, you've already punched through two batteries, and Mao's over there strategically placing every hole. But it's funny because everyone's catching fish. Like, I remember we all went to Pokegama last year, right? Anyone that fishes Pokegama knows it's a tough lake to stay on those fish, right? Yeah. You work very hard. And I think we were running around like chickens with our heads cut off, Danny and I, trying to chase these crappies. And there's Mao over there. He hasn't moved in 20 minutes. And he come back and he's like, yeah, I got 3 in the bucket. Like, they just come back to me. And I just wait. I just watch for them to come back to me. And it's pretty funny to see how some of these tools have really helped us become more efficient. Oh, yeah. You know, I got a funny story about Danny that actually involves Drew, our guy, about a tree, some kind of tree in the water.
I remember this.
We were fishing a spot late ice, and we were catching crappie shallow. 3-4 feet of water. And you remember that day?
Some 2 feet.
How tough that day was?
Oh my goodness.
I don't think I worked harder. I was visibly upset.
I remember.
And as a guy who manages pro staff, and our pro staff were there on a photo shoot, I was visibly upset. Like, I think I even said the words like, "Is anyone else going to help cut holes? Because I'm dying." Like I was like, and it wasn't intended to mean anything. It was just I was like mentally and physically like shot.
Yeah.
I was on like battery 8. I'm like I was just here a week ago. There's no way these fish are gone. Well, they all moved up into 3 feet of water as we found. We found some weed clumps.
Yeah.
It was kind of a Hail Mary, and we found these weed clumps. Well, we got a little eccentric on our auger cutting. And I know Drew's like, hey, there's a tree over there against the bank. And we cut all the way up to it. And remember, he came back. He's like, "Oh, Danny, I think I owe you a new auger."
Danny's brand new auger.
Yeah.
No, the blade was like a week old at best.
And it's funny because I've done that many times. Like I used to fish the backwaters in the Mississippi River.
Yeah.
And we'd go through blades all the time, hitting trees and stuff. But it was just like, I just thought it was so funny where Drew came back, "I owe you an auger." And I didn't went in one ear out the other. And then Danny, in typical fashion, is like, "Oh, it's fine, bro. Like, I'll be all right. I'll cut a hole with my hands if I have to." Like,
Don't sweat it.
Yeah, that was a fun day, and we caught a bunch of fish. And we've already created so many cool memories. I feel like fishing together, and we've only touched the tip of the iceberg. But what are some? I mean, we should jump more into KnockOutdoors. I don't want you to, spill the beans, but like I know you guys have plans for this winter.
Oh, yeah.
Some trips, some things. Like, what are some of your things you have planned this winter? Maybe from a bird's eye view, maybe some of your goals, some things, maybe some ways where our listeners or audience can maybe even partake, whether it's, digitally on some of your adventures or vicariously, or even maybe some things you're going to be doing seminars. Like maybe you want to touch a little bit on like just a bird's eye view of here's our season we're predicting to have this winter, and here's some ways you can connect with KnockOutdoors.
Well, we've been talking about it, and I think we're going to be traveling a lot more this year.
We'll try to.
Not traveling just within Minnesota, but we're going to be going to like maybe North Dakota, South Dakota, Iowa, and going to Wisconsin. So we try to stay within the neighbors of the state and next door to Minnesota. So that's kind of the key plan, just because I think, we want to show ourselves all around, just not in one state, and just get to see more people, maybe even different styles of fishing. Because sometimes some of these states have a different style of what Minnesota can fish, and we can bring it to Minnesota and try to do different kind of techniques into it.
Yeah. And you guys target all species, obviously, so there's a breadth of it. No, that's pretty cool. So we're going to see KnockOutdoors Roadshow.
Yeah. We're the goal is to get out for at least 4 trips away. So
Sure.
Last year was quite a different story. So, but we can talk about that later.
Mal barely made it through last winter.
Yeah.
And another thing too about KOD is that when I first got into it, I asked Mao, how did Mao met Andrew?
Oh, yeah.
So that came along, and then Andrew also probably wonder how did Mao met.
Yeah.
So me and Mao.
I want to know that. I don't know.
Yeah, you guys can do the
Yeah.
Well, me and Mao, we used to be bass competitors.
Yeah.
We compete. And then I know Mao's been doing a lot of stuff, so he's been really busy. And I've been 100% just fishing bass tournament. Like every weekend, like I have the daytime to go pre-fishing,
When I was going to the University of Minnesota Duluth, Danny was going to the University of Minnesota bass fishing.
So I had so much time, as much as I DJ.
I don't think Danny's graduated yet.
He's still doing his thesis right now.
I made it some part of college in my life, so I'm blessed too. But to do what these 2 big brothers does, I had not done that. So everyone had different ways of doing life, and I learned, watching like Jason Mitchell, watching everybody in like Gens, and learning what they learned. So I want to see what I can challenge myself.
Sure.
To be a better angler, not just catching white bass all the time, not catching crappie all the time, sunny, or bass as well too, but just trying to motivate myself to catch bigger and bigger fish. So you learn it as a school, and then as like we're talking Donovan, they're very lucky at their age at the moment where they don't need to learn as much as we do.
Sure.
We work hard to learn what we get. Like Miles said, we go to the library, we print out 3 cents of paper you know, and
Paper.
paper.
No
and-
internet.
Yeah, no internet, and then
I don't think kids know what a printer is nowadays.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then we
Or a library.
Yeah.
we had to go to a bake shop to buy these little
Maps.
mats of each lake and tell you a contour.
Yep.
You know, that's drawn. Now these days, I don't think that even exists no more. You
I have
know,
the book.
yeah,
Yeah.
and the
You bought
big,
East Metro.
Yo, I
have
Was-
that still.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
have-
and we don't never have GPS. We had to buy the huge book and flip the page. If this road's for this road, and then we missed it, we had to go back and turn around. I remember those days.
Yeah. The number
You
of
know?
times you get lost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then it's like it's a dead end. It's like, wait, this map says it doesn't dead end, but you know, all those kind of stuff that I learned, and now with the technologies got better and better.
Yep.
So
It's amazing.
yeah, and the DNR helped out a lot. You know, got to know the U of M DNR. So I went to college a little bit here and there to see all this great technology that I can learn from. And then Mao and these guys are really techie too. So I learned a lot from these guys as well too. But like I say, me and Mao go back because of Bass tournament. But for myself, Mao probably know because Mao, we're kind of somewhat related in a way. So I'm kind of like,
Yeah, now we're really but so Danny's wife and my wife's younger brother, they're married to sisters.
Okay.
So that's kind of way down the road, right? Like
Sure.
Distant.
Danny and I had a relationship fishing and tournament fishing, and we started canoe leagues. You know what I mean? With live wells that are made of coolers or recirculators, running pumps and everything.
custom made.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, we go back a ways.
That's awesome. It's funny because you mentioned technology. And I remember days where, yeah, you had to cut 20 holes just to find that rock pile, right?
yeah.
And I remember when like Lowrance came out with the H2O.
Oh yeah.
You remember the handheld GPS? Like that was like everyone had, that was like, I think I took better care of the H2O than I did the keys to my house. Like I think it was like, you'd wrap it in a towel, you'd tuck it away. Like it was like all your GPS spots were on there. You know, you could carry it by your hand and walk out to a spot. And let's be honest, like you guys know, those maps weren't that good, but it's what we had.
Yeah.
And you could go out there and boop, push a button and mark that rock pile so that tomorrow I can come right back to the exact same spot. I remember when those first came out, we were implementing them under the dash of our truck, under our ATVs. We were walking out there on our boats. We just had this incredible tool. Well, now, like you said, every kid has a smartphone that has a Navionics app that's 50 times more accurate than any of the H2O things we had out there back in the day. But
yeah.
yeah, it's funny. So bass fishing brought both of you together in a tournament scene. That's pretty cool. And so who's the better bass angler?
Oh, you guys can
I don't know.
Andy just goes,
I
here's the
just
gloves.
I just have to say, Danny has close access to a lot of better lakes because
Yeah.
I'm in Lino and that's high pressure area. But you know,
Yeah.
we when we go fishing together, we have our days where I catch the bulk of the fish, and there's days where he catches the bulk of the fish. But we fish a little bit differently, so our styles are a little different. We got a little bit of meshing, you know, where we like to punch and flip, and then Danny likes to kind of go a little shallower than me. I'm more of an offshore structure heavy and electronics guy, you know.
Yep, more methodical, where Danny's like 97 casts a minute.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you put a crankbait in Danny's hand.
Watch
and
out for a hook.
If the crankbait bites on, Danny's probably going to win.
Oh yeah, the crankbait, chatterbait, swim jigs, you know.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, talking a little bit about the bass world, where we live here in the Twin Cities, we're pretty blessed.
Yes.
I think we have some of the best bass fishing in the country.
Yeah.
Right here. And I hear that from some of our pro staff on the Blackfish side that come in, or all terrain that come in town from all over the country. And they're like, man, you guys are spoiled here. And this might be a pro from like Texas
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
or
I hear it.
Tennessee. And I'm like, really? And they're like, oh, yeah, we might catch a big one, but we don't ever catch 30 or 40, 50 bass in a morning. We just
Right.
unheard of. So it's pretty cool. We're pretty blessed, especially on the bass fishing side of things.
Just having the water that we do,
Yeah.
you know. Like I tell everyone, when I fly out, I fly back. Oh, I'm back in Minnesota because there's a dot of water everywhere I can see, you know.
Yep.
I've seen pictures down out west where the launch line is like a mile long, and here we're complaining when and it's like,
Everyone's fighting for 5 lakes within a 100-mile radius.
yeah.
And then these poor fish are so pressured, they probably don't even want to bite anything.
Oh yeah.
They're scared to
and
bite.
that's what I'm hearing is, and I'm like, okay, well, we take it for granted. We may have it better than we think, and I think we understand how good we have it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know, but I do still hear a lot of people that go, oh man, I want to go down south. Like the bass fishing's so good, and I'm thinking, you may be surprised. Like when I hear some of these guys say like they fish all day for 5 bites,
Yeah.
and that was a solid day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like no. So
Yeah.
it's
That bites is
interesting.
a tough day for us.
Yeah.
Another great thing about our Minnesota is also the weather condition.
Mm-hmm.
We get 4 different types of season. If we have guys from the south, east, or west coast and try to adapt to our condition here, I think they may have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are bipolar as
We
look,
are.
that we can go the outdoor as much as we can. That's what I tell a lot of guys. 'Cause I have families from east and west coast, and then like you said, they'll go out there and get skunked, but then when it comes to Minnesota, there's no way you're gonna have to get skunked.
Right.
2 pounders from what average 5 maybe, if so.
Yep.
You know, depends on the day because conditions plays it all
Yep.
in Minnesota at least or in the Midwest.
So, okay, so we got a little backstory on Danny and Mao. Andy's already smiling.
He's waiting.
That was
Yeah.
the way we connected was kind of weird. It was.
It was exactly like
I
that.
mean, yeah, you have to fill the gaps because it's been a few years now. But we were in. Do you remember which Facebook message?
I think it was
group?
Hmong ice fishing.
Okay, Hmong ice fishing, and I'm always posting in there,
Yeah,
and then he's always trolling, right? Like just,
So we're
this
so
is-
for the listeners, we're talking the connection between Andy and Mao. now.
Yep. So I'm like, God, this is kind of weird, but okay, I'll play along. So then we would communicate now through DMs. Like, all right, let's go fish together. Let's see.
It never happened. You know, we'd be talking. We're like, let's go. Let's go.
Waiting on you. Waiting on
You know,
you.
weeks later, let's go. And I'll see him comment, let's go, dude. You know? And then I'll be like, hey, we're going to keep flirting or we're going to go on a date. And that's what I said to him, you know. I typed that out. And then we finally.
And that was it. We sealed the deal.
Yeah.
And then we met out on a lake on the West Metro. Is that sound right?
near Waconia or somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere in Waconia. I can't remember the name.
And then
right now.
I filmed it. It's the one where I'm fishing for sunnies on my Monkey in My Back
Yep.
YouTube.
Yep, and then
Yeah.
ever since then we started talking more. We found out that we went to the same college together.
Really?
Yeah,
Small
up in
world,
Duluth.
Small
Yeah.
world.
And I was in the same engineering program also with him. I mean, but before I moved over into the finance accounting. So
Yeah.
again, super even
That's
more
crazy.
He liked money more, so
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, that's kind of how we connected. It was
yeah.
pretty
And
bizarre.
then when Andy got with you, Andy was like,
Are you interested?
Hey, you want to be pro staff? I was like, sure. I wasn't even sure what was going to happen, right? And then he's like, yeah, see if you can hook up with someone else. And I thought about Danny because me and Danny were kind of talking on and off then too. I was like, hey, you want to be a part of Clam? And Danny really didn't think it was a big deal, right? Because Danny pro staffs for a few other companies, and then
Oh yeah.
Danny's Danny.
yeah. And Danny was about to go fishing when we were supposed to meet with you and Andy.
Yes. The first time.
Shocker.
We yelled at him. We were like, bro, you can't go.
Yeah.
You got to wait till after our meeting. And then
is
after we
important.
met with you and Andy, Danny was like, whoa, this is serious. And I'm like, of course it is. I'm not going to waste your time, you know?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, it's been awesome working with you guys, and it's easy, and I don't mean that in any wrong way. It's just it's easy to work with you guys because you get it, your passion, like the fuel for the fire. The fire is burning so hot. I feel like all the time, and I'm not. That's not a dig on any of our pros. It's just I feel like it's always burning hot with the three of you, like always. Whether we're together in person, whether it's virtual, whether you're at an event, whether you're doing your own thing, I feel like that fire is just always burning. Like you guys always have that, and I think what it is from my perspective, and I think all three of you alluded to it, is you're constantly trying to learn and get better.
Yeah.
Always in everything you do. And when we fish together, there's so much of that kind of conversation going on.
Yeah.
What are you using? What are you doing? Like, should we let the world in on Mao, the sunfish master? Are you ready for that?
I was waiting for because you mentioned Sunny earlier.
Oh, boy.
Oh
Are we
yeah.
ready?
We should
Are we-
digress and go into that.
Oh, you
one
ready for
sure.
that? So, just to explain what that means. So, we got a fun joke between the four of us, and I think there's some other pros involved. And I'll tell you what, Mao has a curse when he's with us
Yes.
because he cannot catch a crappie, only sunfish. And I say that, and you may be listening and be like, well, yeah, well, we all do. But no. Let me tell you, it's so bad that we've been in the same boat, the four of us, where Andy, Danny, and I are catching a crappie in every cast using the exact same lure as Mao. And Mao was catching sunfish, and neither of the three of us had even caught a sunfish.
Oh yeah.
And I thought it was just a fluke day on Tonka
wild.
that day.
Oh,
It
it's
was.
not.
You had to see it to believe it. It was. We even switched. You guys even switched rods.
Yeah.
And it was like, what? I was.
You know,
It was crazy.
sunfish and bass are in the same family.
fair enough. Fair enough. But it was so much so. Excuse me. That we looked at each other like, this isn't possible.
Yeah, this is weird.
Like there's something weird. So we'd switch spots. We would do this. And Andy would go back to Mao's spot, and Mao would go back to Andy's spot and make the same cast, sunfish. Andy in the back, crappie. So we thought, okay, there was just that weird damn Minnetonka where we had a lot of fun. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't
that
think I
was great.
laughed more than I did that day. We caught a
was awesome.
ton of fish. We went home to have great fish fries. But then fast forward to this last winter. Probably the next time where the four of us really fished hard again together. And we saw each other many times for photo shoots and whatnot, but we went out crappie fishing, and the crappie fishing was good. And there's Mao
Again,
hole hopping through all the same holes we are, only catching sunfish.
I was literally in the middle of you guys, and you guys all caught crappies around me.
Yeah.
And I pulled up nothing but sunnies.
And none of the three of us had caught a sunny the whole day. And I remember we even retied your line to exactly what we were using.
Yeah.
To the point, even during lunch, I don't think Mao stopped fishing because he's like, I'm gonna catch a crappie now while they're all eating lunch. And you were over there catching sunfish
I
still.
didn't catch a crappie that day at all.
Oh, that
Caught some decent sunnies.
It's a thing.
Yeah,
It's a thing.
Yeah, it's a real thing. So I guess if your listeners out there and you're in a panfish or a bluegill tournament,
Oh,
there's a guy here on this podcast that may be a ringer. It was comical, and it's something we always have fun and joke about to this day. Is like, oh, is that another sunfish, Mao?
Yep. That's true.
But it was pretty good. Definitely one of my fondest memories as a group was
Yeah.
attacking crappies for some and sunfish for one.
Yeah.
And we had a giant dogfish on.
Oh, yeah.
Mao had
A
a
big bass,
absolute
too.
giant largemouth bass on that.
I said,
I tried to land it Bassmaster style, and then it snapped off.
I said, should I get the net? You're like, no, it's not that big. And we saw it.
It was well over 6 pounds.
the
and
mouth
it
was pretty big.
yeah.
The mouth was bucket.
So never again.
And then Mao tries to talk himself out of it when it wasn't that big. And the three of us were like,
Dude, it was a
we
megalodon.
looked at it. It was 6+ pounds all day.
when it does that.
Yeah.
Pretty entertaining stuff. And no, that's pretty fun. I mean, the stories, I mean, that's the beauty of, I think, fishing, right? And you alluded to it, Mao, and even Danny and others about how the stories bring us together, right?
Oh,
You
yeah.
talked about the first time you really got into fishing and how that story you remember that well. And I think that's the beauty of what we do in this fishing world, whether it's as a team here or whether it's with families or whatever, is the stories you create. Like story or fishing brings out stories.
Yeah.
I look at any fishing experience I've ever had, whether it's a trip to Canada with the family, whether it's a UPL event, whether it's a photo shoot like we talked about. I remember the stories.
Yeah.
And the fish are just tools or just parts of chapters in that book, right? So I'm excited to make a whole bunch more stories. So you're going to do some traveling.
Yes, we are.
You're going to be moving all over. Andy, you're going to make a trip back to Lake of the Woods and catch an absolute freak walleye when I don't even know you're there?
Yeah. That's potentially on the docket.
Yeah.
End of December, early January. We're still trying to dial a time together.
Yeah, Andy catches a 30-incher. We were there at the same time.
Were you there at the same time?
You caught it like at the same time. No, you caught it at the same time as the photo shoot.
Oh yeah.
That we were doing with Dan.
Oh, okay.
And we didn't even know Andy was there. And it was on Facebook that Andy posted this absolute megalodon walleye in front of one of the board review sleepers.
Yep.
And we're like, that must be an old picture. and then like you posted a video like you're still there.
Fresh.
And I remember Dan, our old director of marketing, was like, is Andy Cho on Lake of the Woods? I'm like, I think. And he's like, well, we're up here doing a media photo shoot, like, and he just caught like the biggest walleye the lake has to offer. And I'm like, I think he's at board of you, the same place you guys are at.
Yeah.
And you just went up there for fun.
Yeah, my boss
just went
had
up there to do
an
some fishing,
opening.
yeah.
And then I'm like, I'll just tag along. I didn't know any of the stuff was happening
Yeah.
with you guys and Dan and everything
And you
else.
caught an absolute giant. I remember Dan was like, we need a big walleye for some content. And there's Andy, he's just like, I'll come up here and Jack's an absolute trophy fish.
Yeah,
I know.
that was cool.
That's a special fishery in itself, though.
is
I mean,
cool,
Lake of the Woods, I'll tell you, like, I'm planning to go up there that week after Christmas again with my boys, and it's become a tradition, talking about stories and traditions. I have 3 boys that love to fish. Well, I should take that back. 2 that love to fish, 1 that goes for the snacks. But we started going up there a year or so ago, and right after Christmas, and we've kind of tied in a couple other functions while we're there. But that's something we look forward to, is going up there and sleeping out there and catching walleyes until the sun goes down. Because you all know when the sun goes down in Lake of the Woods, worthless. You might catch a pout here or there, but it's worthless. But that's where we
rattle
talk.
wheels do the best.
Yeah, I know. And you know what's funny about a rattle reel? When I was a kid, I'd go to Mille Lacs with my buddy and stay at his parents' fish house, and we'd fish for whatever. You could sleep through TV and music and noise and the loudest commotion ever.
100%.
But the second that initial just click goes off, you wake up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like, I remember waking up and Chuck's dad, Bob, was like, how did you, we've been playing music you've been sleeping on the top bunk for 2 hours and we're having a straight up party in here. And then you hear the ding of that. What? It's like, it's crazy how that in your brain triggers that sort of stuff.
Yeah, when we were up there in our video, we had our finicky food was all set up too, and Andrew had bought all these little
Jingle bells.
Clip-on bells.
Clip-on Amazon bells, and Danny was on the top bunk, and this guy would jump off of the top bunk in the dark to just
With no lights.
How can I I can honestly believe that.
This is crazy, man. I was like, dude, did you fall? I was like, no, I jumped. And I was like,
He moves pretty fast when that bell goes off. That's for sure.
Yeah. It's like tip ups. Like when we were in college, we would go tip up fishing with some of the other guys on the sports teams, and we'd say, well, you know, a lot of them were new to fishing, right?
Yeah.
You know, some of us fished, many or just they wanted to hang out with the guys, and we would do tip up fishing. And we'd throw a football, we'd grill out or whatever, and maybe teach somebody to use a rod and reel, but most people just would hang out. But it was great because you can use 2 lines in the winter in Minnesota, as you know, and we would put a bunch of tip ups out. So the rule was the first person to the tip up gets to lift it up.
Sure.
Well, you know, it's all fun and games till, you know, you have a lineman on the football team out there and you're starting running back and you start realizing like, oh boy, like this is going to be maybe tough. You know, I'll tell you what, we lost more fish than we landed because no one made it to the tip up. Because it was a full on battle. So that's probably was Danny's mentality is like, oh, that bell goes off. I got to be first to the rattle reel. I'm going to get to reel this one up.
Yeah.
You know, where Mao's over there probably just like yawning, trying to figure out what's going on. You know, and
Grandpa's still opening his eyes. Where's my glasses?
that's funny. So, I mean, I wanted to get to a little, I mean, I know a decent amount about you guys, but I thought it'd be fun to peel back the onion a little more. So one thing I love watching Danny do on social media, because maybe I'm an addict when it comes to food as well. Danny cooks a ton of food. And what you told me like a few months ago is like, you don't like just cooking, you like cooking for a lot of people. And I've seen you cook like an exorbitant amount of food for all kinds of people, and it looks awesome. So, you know, is there possibly a cooking future for Danny Food? Because I'll tell you what, like, you cook some pretty amazing grub. I'll tell you what. It's got to be a passion of yours.
It runs in the family again. You know, my family loves cooking, and when we cook, we also always have people coming over. The weekend's always more gathering for us, and we always love our family, always have, and we always go together no matter what. And either a birthday or just a hangout, the culture itself, everyone will bring a different dish, and it's not just a big pot. We're talking about like extra large pot.
Yeah, I've seen them.
Yeah.
I've seen him.
I think everyone's seen them.
Like a
It's
sled.
a tray.
It's like a sled.
It's so much to the point that everyone had their food, right? And then at the end of the day, when the party's over, everybody's giving their own Ziplocs. And there's still more food going home to their own family at home for the next day, for tomorrow. What do you call it?
Leftovers.
Leftover eating.
Yeah.
And it's still going to be good for tomorrow to eat again. Just heat it up.
It's good till Monday when you go to work.
So, I mean, my dad loves cooking. My dad's probably my number one guy because he cooked a lot.
Yeah.
Like funeral homes, he'll cook. So I learned a lot, especially my mom. They cook their dishes different. I think homemade is always the best, right? Homemade has always been
for sure.
So my parents are my number one cookers, and comes grandma and grandpa. They taught me well, and I just have to follow along. And the recipe may not be perfect, and everyone has different feelings on eating. I think everyone's gonna love it.
Yeah. So what's your favorite thing to cook? Like what if you were gonna cook for, let's say, 10 of our viewers that won a prize, and you're cooking your dish, what would it be? Like, what's your jam? And then you DJ afterwards. So this is like a prize package.
There you go.
It'll be the fish soup and the chicken soup.
Yeah.
It'll be those.
Some type of soup.
Yeah.
Okay. I gotta have that. He's teased me a few times. Like, I'm not good at probably making the soups and things. Like, I can throw a piece of meat on a smoker or something like that and push a button on it and do its thing. But I look at what some of the stuff you cook, and it looks so darn good. And that's one of the many things I admire about the Hmong culture. I had a family of Hmongs that lived right next door to me that I got to know well. The family aspect of it, I'll tell you what, that's such a heartwarming way of culture, right? Everything is so family driven. I've been invited to different functions and get-togethers and birthday parties where it's like 50, 60, 80 people, and it's just commonplace. And I think it's such a breath of fresh air to see. And food brings people together. I don't care what anyone says. Like, food brings people together. And when you have a group, some of the things, talking about memories that I remember from certain functions, whether it's Christmas at grandma's or whatever, sometimes it's the food that I remember.
Oh yeah.
Maybe not even the conversation or the people, it's the food you remember at times. So I can imagine that at the gatherings you host or you attend, the food's probably on point. But that's pouring on my own heartstring because I like to eat and I like to cook a lot of food myself. So how that question was coming from me. But I mean, Mao, you cook a ton too, though.
I do.
I mean, you and I have, you talked about you were flirting back and forth with Andy before you guys got together.
Yeah.
You and I have flirted quite a bit on getting together to cook.
Yeah, we were supposed to.
I know, that's on me.
Well, it's okay. Everyone's so busy nowadays, and as you know, my daughter just got married, and so that was pretty busy and expensive. But anyways, but yeah, I have a few things that I like to make. Like I cook a good honey ham.
A honey ham.
Yeah, like
that sounds
the
good.
Raw honey from raw, not the pre-cooked ones,
Ooh.
And then I make a good kettle of pho. Danny's eating my pho.
Yeah.
So it's not bad.
That sounds good too.
Yeah.
I'm so happy we're eating after this little podcast.
I'm getting hungry.
We're going to lunch after the podcast. Otherwise, I'd be in tough shape. But no, that's food brings people together for sure, and I love it. Since Mao's on the hot seat right this second, we got to talk about last winter.
Oh yeah.
Mao alluded to it 15 minutes ago in this podcast. Maybe for a conversation for later, he said, but it's happening. Mao you had a bad bout with COVID.
I did.
A really bad one. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Like it kind of kicked your butt.
I had like an autoimmune type of response to it. Yeah.
Sure. And it was fun for us, as respectfully as I can say that, because we had a group text, the four of us, going where we would get random photos from Mao, and it might be with an oxygen machine, or it might be, hey, I'm back, and you're such a half glass full kind of guy that you made the most of it, right?
Yeah.
And I know it hurt you a ton,
especially
when we were out fishing or doing something like that, and you couldn't be there. But I'll tell you what, you fought through it, and then you were on the ice, very quick.
Yeah, it was rough, Like I told everyone here knows, but I was out for like 2 weeks with a fever, and this is like 101 to 104, right?
Yeah,
I'd be knocked out, sleeping, having a fever. I'd have the windows to the bedroom cracked open like a foot. I've had ice on my forehead and ice on my body. Just try to get my fever down. I was eating rotating between, Tylenol and aspirin every 6 hours, and it's still,
Yeah.
I was in bed for about 2 weeks. My wife fed me in bed.
Yeah. So were you really sick?
Yeah.
Or did you?
I was really sick because you know what she fed me? She fed me like oatmeal and stuff. And I was like,
man.
oh my goodness, woman, I'm going to die.
I was starting to think, when I just heard that statement, I'm like, this might have been a ploy all along. He's getting fed in bed. It's like,
Yeah, and I could barely walk. By the second week that I had a fever and just going to the bathroom and back, my oxygen was down in like the upper 70s.
I remember you saying that.
Yeah, so by that time I was like, I need to call the doctor. Called the doctor. He's like, you got to go in. So went into the emergency room. I was there for the weekend, and they gave me a shot of steroid, and it actually, it kind of
helped a bunch.
shook my system to stop attacking itself.
Sure.
And I got my appetite back. I was eating hospital food like it was Fogo de Show, I was eating veggies, and I was like, oh my goodness, I ate the whole plate. It was veggies and everything, and this is like some
Awesome.
They had like some pulled beef, right? With gravy, and
Yeah.
it's really dry, but I ate it all, man.
Yeah.
And I would call it, the what do they call it? The surprise, in The Witcher, the law of surprise.
Oh, sure.
So I'd call it my law of surprise meals because I
don't
never
know what you're gonna
I
get.
didn't order anything, right? I didn't even know looking at the menu. They just brought it in. I just ate it all up.
I remember you came to Clam
Yeah.
shortly after you were kind of on the mend.
Yeah.
And I remember Mao's there. He's in my office. He's picking up an order. He's excited. I'm going to be back on the ice hopefully next week. I'm getting my wind. And all of a sudden he just stops and he pulls out an oximeter from his pocket, slaps it on his finger, and he goes, ooh, my oxygen's getting low. Just pulls out an oximeter out of his pocket right in the middle of our office at Clam. He's like, ooh, yeah, see, look at like my oxygen's getting low.
Yeah.
Feeling a bit winded right now.
Yeah.
Just to piggyback off that, there were some times where his positivity did suffer at times. We were like, hey, dude,
It was rough.
focus on your health. That's all you got, right? I mean, you can have all the money in the world, but then the next day you're laying in the bed.
Yep.
What good does that do you?
Right.
Nothing.
It was
Nothing.
like one of the most challenging times of my life. Like it's completely different, Like some people, they damage a muscle and they go and they work the muscle, right? They might pull their hamstring or something and they rehab it, But when it's like your heart or your lungs, it is so different. You almost have like no control, and your body just has to get there, and you just have to do what you can.
Right.
And it was the biggest challenge of my life. Like I couldn't even walk a lap around my house without almost dying.
Ugh.
It was bad. I would take laps, and I got to like 5 laps. One time, my house is kind of built circularly, and one time, in my laps, I got a little ambitious. I was like, I want to do a slow jog, and man, I got to one end of it, and it was tough. I was like, I was gonna really I was out of breath.
So remember after we took him out fishing?
Me, Andy was very scared on his first outing back.
It was. So anyways, we took him out fishing after he's like, I think I'm ready to go.
This is like February, the first weekend.
Yeah, that's when he was ready
Season's
to go.
almost end.
Yeah.
Season's almost about to end.
So we unloaded everything. He had his X100 that he thought he could pull, but we ended up pulling it everywhere. We were the pack mules.
I pulled it down the hill.
But yeah, we just worked as a team, right? And that's we just got the job done. Try to get some assets. I think we caught a perch.
I bet you if you ask Mao the truth, and maybe you already know this, like you guys were probably a big part of his positivity during that stretch, and that just goes back to the initial conversation we had in this podcast about how the team, right? How you've assembled this awesome group of guys. Because I remember being part of some of these text conversations where, there were days I remember where it was like, hey man, say a prayer for Mao, he's having a tough time, and we would rally and you'd pick him up and do this, and then. So I'm guessing Mao, that meant the world to Mao during those times that you have this group. So it's not just, it's not just KOD fishing, right? It's like we're a family.
Yeah.
So you guys have created that bond. I think that's pretty darn cool and admirable for a lot of organizations that are trying to fill, that void of camaraderie and teamwork, and seeing how you guys do it and how it can be successful. And then that same month, I know we went fishing. One of my more memorable days on the ice. We're not going to get into all the details, but Andy and Mao were with us when we caught some pretty big crappies.
Yeah.
And I remember you were still kind of on the mend a little bit.
Yeah.
But that was one of my fondest memories, getting to share. I know Danny couldn't make it. I think he was going on like 7 days in a row, no sleep, and he had to finally get some sleep. He kicked himself after the fact, though, when he realized what we caught. Although we did play a major prank on him.
Yeah.
We were texting him similar pictures of the same fish,
Oh, yeah.
thinking that we caught a lot of them like that. And he was like, I remember he was kind of upset a little bit, as much as Danny don't get upset, but like the group text was a little more comical. He's like, man, we got another one. But we got to experience some pretty cool stuff together this last winter on some trophy level crappies, which was super fun. My kids got to be there and see it. Jack for his birthday, and we were there during the bewitching hour and right place at the right time, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Jack was a trooper, man.
He
didn't miss a beat. He was out there all day.
Yeah.
When you left, he didn't even want to go yet. He was yelling at you.
He was fishing. It was for his birthday, and it was like he wanted to try to catch something special, a big one. So we kind of cherry picked a couple lakes we hit to try to catch a bigger fish, and
It worked.
And we caught some good ones, and yeah, they're hardcore. He doesn't like to. There's no quitting in his body.
Oh yeah.
You know, he fishes hard. You know,
He's you junior.
Oh, and it's fun because like these young kids, you know, they have such a passion. Yeah. You know, and I think they haven't experienced enough to know.
Oh yeah.
Like, does it ever get redundant? Does it ever change? Do we take anything for granted? Like, I look at like the St. Paul Ice Show, for example. I know all three of you are going to be there. If anyone's listening, you can come chat with them.
Yeah.
It's not the same for me.
Yeah.
And I don't say that in a bad way. It's better in some ways, but it's not the same in terms of a consumer, right? Like when I was a kid, like I would have been caught dead missing the St. Paul Ice Show.
Right.
The first St. Paul Ice Show I've missed since it started was last year because I got COVID.
Yes.
I've made it every single year, right? So, but going back to my point, like it's not as exciting for me to go look at all this stuff because we're so enthralled in the industry. We see it all. But you look at someone like Jack or Donovan, like they just want to walk around and soak it all in.
Yeah.
We're there now kind of for a different purpose, right? Like, yeah, we want to soak it all in, but we're there because we got to market, we got to promote. We're out there kind of, I guess you can say we're really doing a job. Where I've often laughed with my dad, who I went to all these shows with. I would love to go back to when I was 10 or 15 years old, to where I literally counted down the days until the St. Paul Ice Show or the Northwest Sports Show or any of these things that I literally wouldn't be caught dead missing.
Oh yeah. Well, the products and everything are great, but the best thing about the ice shows for me is just having the interaction. Having people come up and share their stories and tell you how they're catching fish and how they're doing stuff, and ask you questions that whatever you can tell them to help them get more fish.
Right. Yep. And that's one of our biggest, pushes here with Ice Team and even this podcast, like we alluded to in the episode 1 with Durham. We're not trying to be a sell here. We're trying to teach people and educate people and show them something. And to your point at these shows, that's one of my biggest driving forces behind the shows is I get to talk to so many people.
Yeah.
And how to catch crappies or how to do this or what are you doing this year? Or just, hey, I haven't seen you since last year. So, we're jumping into show season. We just filmed a podcast at a show, the first show of the season. And we're about to embark on a whole bunch more shows all over the ice belt. So like I would encourage anybody listening or watching, like if you're at a show and you see any one of us, one of my biggest pieces of advice for any show goer is take it to your advantage.
Yeah,
it's not just about a
shy.
discount or a product, right?
Oh, yeah.
Mao nailed it. Like if you see Andy and Mao, you see Dave Gens, you see Jason Mitchell, you see anybody, they are there to talk to you.
Oh yeah.
They're not just placeholders, right?
Yep.
They want to talk to you. They expect to talk to you. So if you're going to sit there in the wing and just kind of go, oh, there's Dave Gens, I should say hi. You don't take the opportunity. I would encourage you to step outside that comfort zone, take that risk, take that plunge, because I can promise you, knowing most of these guys and gals personally, they're going to want to talk to you.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you come up to Danny and start talking about food, he's gonna. If you come to Danny and talking about DJing, you come up to Mao and talking about summer bass, even at the same time, we're gonna chat, right?
Oh,
we're
yeah.
gonna have this. You talk to Andy about fishing plastics now, or new ideas on how to target fish on a lake. That's the beauty of these shows, in my opinion. Is you can get a deal. That's great. Deals are everywhere now.
Yeah.
It's just it's the world we live in. Deals are everywhere, but the information isn't.
Oh yeah.
Not the real in-person
Oh
information.
yeah, the knowledge that's instilled on all of the Clan Pro staff is incredible. You know, like even being such enthusiastic fishermen as Danny and I, you know, we learned so much from everybody on the ice team,
Oh yeah.
and it's like, you know, the kids shouldn't hesitate. You know, don't come for the deals. I think the real golden nugget is just talking to somebody,
Yep.
some of the pros, and getting that little thing you're missing, you know? It's like, why am I not doing this? Why am I not getting this?
Yeah.
Why am I having this type of an issue, right? Or it might be like electronics related, you know? It might be something you can't get in a forum where you can type it out and be like, oh, this is my problem. I can get pretty technical typing out, but not everyone's like that, you know?
Right.
You might just be able to get in front of somebody and say, hey, my problem is this. Something's happening. And somebody will be like, I know exactly what you're going through.
And that's what we do on the ice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like how many times have we been on the ice where we're struggling or something's not working, or we're on fish
Yep.
and we can't get them to go, and then somebody finds that magic cadence or that magic lure,
Yep.
or maybe they realize this or that, and we all switch to it, or we all start to adapt.
Yep.
You know, those are things that you can learn from one another a whole bunch.
To add on to that, don't be stubborn, right?
Yeah.
Just because you have your favorite jig, plastic color, rod, please change. If you want to catch fish, try to adapt.
You can tell them your story, Andy.
Which one?
I don't know about not changing the rod or something.
Well, yeah, no. I mean, I've gone out with Danny, but I'm like, I know this thing can catch fish. I just want to catch one.
Yeah.
Then I can move on to the next setup.
Yep.
That's when you're stubborn versus adapting to, say, Danny. He's already probably changed 20 times, right?
Yeah.
I don't
Sounds
know.
right.
And then if you don't adapt, you might not catch fish. So again, just try to be flexible and change your style of fishing.
And
Don't
when
be stubborn.
And when we fish as a team, we did the one shoot last year where I remember it was on a stunted crappie lake. You know, small lake, North Metro.
Yeah.
We didn't catch much for any size, I remember. But what we did well as a team is we split up.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and I think we as a group here talking kind of took it upon ourselves to be the one to go chase down the fish and try to find a bite. While, you know, much of the media team was shooting like videos or photos, we were kind of off to be like, hey, go see if you can find a better bite. And one thing that was super fun that day, I remember, is like, you know, while we were together, we weren't. Meaning Andy's over here, Mao's over here, Danny's over, I'm over, and we're talking to each other.
Yep.
What are you finding? What's working? What's not working? You know, and then we found the fish.
Yep.
And we found the fish for the whole group. And they might not have been big, but we found where they were and what they were doing and what they wanted. And then we brought the whole group over and we caught fish, you know. But if you looked at that day and if we would put a Fitbit on our truck
Yeah.
and you saw what the miles were put on that day and how many holes were cut, you know, to the point where we were thinking, I remember at one point the conversation alluded to, we should probably go to a new lake.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't, right?
Yeah.
We kind of found where those fish were and then checked off the boxes to realize, okay, where we found those fish and what they were doing, that's where they are.
Yep.
I think that's such a fun way to do it and something some people take for granted. I mean, some people go out fishing, they go out to the community hole, they don't move,
Yep.
right?
Oh, yeah.
No, you got to get after these fish. It's no different in your boat. If you're not going to go out to one spot lock or drop an anchor and not move for 7 hours, especially if every cast produces nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
But the anglers do that every day on the ice. They go out there, they punch their 2 holes, they flip their trap, and they sit there for 6 hours
Yeah.
and go, well, they're just not biting.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, we're beyond that as
That's
anglers.
how it was.
We're beyond that as anglers.
Yeah,
I
that's
think,
how it was
nowadays.
10 years ago.
We are now better than that, right, as anglers. And,
Yeah.
you know, but to get back, definitely ask the questions of each other. That's important. Now, there's some stuff you guys are going to be at. Now, you know, I'll tip the hat of these 3 guys that work because they're super humble. All 3 of these gentlemen are sponsored by Shields.
Yes.
You guys have a great partnership with Shields. There's some ice fest coming up you're going to be at. I don't know if you want to elaborate a little bit. So, like, if our listeners or viewers they want to meet KOD or they want to talk fishing, they want to do whatever, maybe you want to divulge a little bit of like okay, here's our schedule on where we'll be making appearances, let's say the next month or so that our listeners and stuff can maybe connect with you.
Oh yeah.
I can go. The first big event's going to be Shields Eden Prairie Ice Fest, and that's 18th, 19th of November, which coincides with the Blaine Ice Show. So we don't have exactly which day we're going to be, but we'll try to be at both, just to split our resources. And then the next show that we're going to be at is going to be at the St. Paul Ice Show, more than likely Friday and Saturday.
Sure.
Full days. We're trying to help, with the setup, and then close down Saturday as well. So that's currently what we have on the docket. We don't know about anything else past that yet.
Sure.
And if you guys haven't followed us, just follow us. We'll definitely keep you guys up to date and posted it on the KOD page as well too. And you probably see us as an individual and probably bump into Matt in those live views, showing behind him and stuff, so forth as well.
And Danny, one of Danny's nicknames is Danny Four Claws. We gave him a nickname, Danny Five Claws, one day. So
Matt's the fifth one now.
So maybe let our listeners in on maybe like your personal social media too, and like I know Mao alluded to Monkey on My Back Outdoors. So you guys have some other things you're cooking that people can follow along too.
Oh yeah, we each have our own personal social media. We kind of keep it a little separate, and then we have team activities that we do that for KnockOutdoors. But yeah, Monkey My Back Outdoors is my handle, and I'm on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, and I post a lot more pictures and stuff. I try to do more videos, but it's been a pretty crazy summer for me, and with personal issues and with my daughter's wedding and everything. So, I have some videos in the work, but I'm as you may know, I'm the editor for the group for mainly our videos. So I'm trying to work on a lot of challenges. I've been buying a lot of hard drives lately. So, it's
Mambo.
My kid has one of your stickers on his Vexlar Gens pack. Mambo.
I love it.
Nice.
Yeah.
There you go.
Monkey on My Back out. I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
Super creative.
Yeah, Waldo started that, I think.
Oh, really? Waldron, huh?
Yeah, Waldron.
Yeah. He can catch a couple.
Oh, yeah.
He knows what he's doing.
Hammer.
Andy.
Yeah, my handle it's Showtime, CHOE, my last name. I'm on pretty much every single platform, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. There's a new one cooking right now called Vero, if I have it said correctly. Yeah. That one's brewing.
These
so
are social media guys.
Yeah, I'm trying to stay up on it, right? Otherwise, you go into the grandpa stages, and you're like, I don't want to learn. I don't want to learn it all.
We all looked at Mao.
Don't want to be like Mao.
Yes, but we do have the team one and our personal. Our personal, may not coincide, so we just post things. Family, we're out with a camping trip or something. We're going on our personal. So,
Sure.
Yeah, Danny.
And then for me, is you could search Outdoor with Danny Vu or D Outdoor Danny Vu Four Claws.
Yeah.
So that's pretty easy. Or you just search Danny Vu. I'm pretty much
Everywhere.
just everywhere.
D is in dog. D Outdoors.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah,
T,
D.
not V.
D, not THE, just the letter D
Yeah.
as in dog.
So we know the story, but maybe you want to tell everyone about Four Claws, how that came about.
Four Claws started at the DJ as well, because we have 4 DJs. So we're like, you know what? We have 4 DJs, and every DJ is an hour set. Mm-hmm. We're like, you know what? We call our team. We can just call it Four Claws. And then as I go, as I go fishing, I usually just change up to 4 different lures. When you have a hot bite, it's up 4 different lures. Or if it like you were back to saying, if we get a day on that lake that's bad, I usually end up at 4 lakes in one day.
I believe it.
And that's the most, like literally from sunrise to sunset. Like literally, that's all day. Like that's what, 12 hours of fishing, maybe plus, depending on the daylight saving. But not too long ago, I went to 6 Lake in one day. Man, that was crazy.
Like boat launched, everything,
Yes.
6 Lakes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
that
crazy.
was going on
It-
maybe 2 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's another day in Danny Vu's life.
Yeah.
That's a broken record right there. I don't think I'm ever gonna do it again. I learned my lesson. It was
too much.
So did you not catch anything, or was it a tough day? Was it just
It was tough because we had that cold front.
okay?
It was a cold front. I mean, I caught fish, but I was trying to land a
He's
6
looking
pounder.
for 6-pounders.
Yeah,
Yeah,
He was catching 4s and
Yeah.
3s.
it wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
I mean, it was good. It was great, but it was like, man, am I catching like this? I gotta move. And I ended up. It wasn't a big lake too. I was going to smaller lakes where I can I know these lakes to a point that I just need to fish these areas really quick. If they're there, they're there. They're not, you can't pressure those fish to bite.
right.
Move
Move on to the next one.
on to the next one because you could be there for 6 hours. They're there, but they're not going to bite. So why not move?
Sure.
So there's things that I learn a lot as a fisherman. I fish a lot too. Not every day, but, I try not to.
Yeah. It happens.
But you learn, you learn as you go. You can learn. I'm very blessed to have the opportunity to get out as much as I can too. So.
Cool. Well, I mean, we've touched on a lot of stuff, and I mean, you're going to talk to a lot of people this winter and follow along with these guys on social media. What do we got for any parting words? Anything that we want to leave the listeners with, KOD wise, or anything else funny or goofy or another embarrassing moment for Danny?
Well, we just want to say we appreciate all the support. Like we appreciate all the love. I mean, we're out here doing what we love, but it helps when you guys come by and say hello and just show us some love. So we appreciate that. We want to say thank you to that. And when I was sick, I want to say thanks to the Clam family. There's a lot of people who reached out and near and far, and spoke with me and kind of kept with the team. And so we appreciate everything that you guys do for us, Clam and people on the outside who may be watching KnockOutdoors, as an audience.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
For me, I mean, we're just a couple individuals that like to get outside and enjoy the sport. At the end of the day, right, it's our way to decompress and enjoy our life, to leave some of the stressors behind and say, hey, look, you can do fun things, and I love the freedom. So, I don't really have much to say other than that, and I think we touched on a lot of good stuff here.
For sure.
And for me, guys, I mean, honestly, take pictures, videos. It doesn't matter if you're going to post it up or not. It's memories all over again.
Yep.
I do that a lot. It also gives me a good opportunity to look at the timeline of myself when you catch that fish, how it kind of brings back memories of previous last year and stuff like that. It's like a timeline. Is it time for me to go back again?
Sure.
Came back. So take a lot of pictures. Doesn't matter what it is. Maybe not catch fish. Outdoors, just see the scenery outdoors. We love the morning, the sunrise, sunset.
Mm-hmm.
And then, just enjoy, like Andrew, everybody says, it's just another relief. Just get out, not at the office. Our office is one of the outdoors.
Sure.
But one last thing, I just want to tell everybody, it's going to be like 70 degrees today, but everyone's got ice fishing on their mind. And as old grandpa fashion, we have to talk about ice safety.
Yeah.
And, it's going to get there. We're going to get hot for it. Just be safe on the ice.
Good
early
advice.
ice. It's never worth it if you think, just to get that picture, right?
Yeah.
So there's always next time. Be safe, guys.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
Well, I admire the bejesus out of these three. I mean, I've gotten to know all three of you pretty well. It's a breath of fresh air to see how you handle yourselves and what you bring to this sport of fishing and how open you are and how positive you are. So I know that's not going to change. I don't need to tell you that, but I love having you guys on. I knew when we came to talk about Ice Team Podcast, I had a handful of ideas in my brain, and right away I'm thinking like KOD's got to be on. You guys got such a great story to tell. There's so much there. I'm sure we could sit and talk forever. I mean, Danny would talk for the whole day. He's not going to bed. We know anytime soon.
That's right.
But it was awesome. Thank you so much for coming on, the three of you. Check these guys out if you haven't already. Follow them on social media. Talk to them at a sports show. They're not lying. They want to talk to you and ask questions and get involved in your world of fishing too. So on behalf of Ice Team Podcast, we had KOD on today, Andy, Danny, Mao. This was awesome, guys, and I'm excited to hit the ice with each of you again this winter. But before that, sport shows. Get to have some fun, get to do some of that, and get ready for another great ice fishing season. Thanks for tuning in.
See you
On
guys.
the ice.